we've talked quite a lot about your family background, and it always starts with the house where you were conceived. So just tell me about that, because I think we've walked outside it and you've pointed it out to us. So where was it?
We have it, 13 St Bede's Road.
And remind me where that is.
Near the Davis Bridge, just before you go over the Davis Bridge.
And then after that, you had quite an up and downy sort of time over the next few years about where you lived.
That's
so
right.
Where was that?
After that, after St Bede's Road, my parents moved to 43 Jubilee Grove, Billingham.
Right.
And they lived in with an elderly couple there. Well, my dad worked and my mother looked after the lady there.
Where was your dad working then?
He worked at North TC Power Station.
Oh, right. And I think you've got your mother's identity card that tracks. Have you got it there, the identity card that tracks where she was living at that time?
Yes, I gave you it, Charles. Then. Let me it back.
Perhaps it's in the envelope. Is it in the envelope? Let's just have a look at that. I'm going to move my chair a bit closer to my chair.
Right.
So
that's where I was conceived. My parents lived there when they first married. My parents lived there in 12 Cornwall Crescent, which was my grandmother's house. And after that, they moved into 13 St Bede's Road, Billingham.
And that was the start of Joe?
That was the start, yes. And after that, they moved to 43 Jubilee Grove. They were only there for about 6 months because the elderly couple that lived there died within that period of time. So after that, they were given a house by the council at 22 Cleveland Avenue, Haverton Hill.
And so what that was 1949, was that?
Yes, 1949.
So that's when you moved to Haverton Hill. And how old were you then?
7 or 8 months old.
Oh. And you were there, I think you said, until you were 7.
Yeah, till 1956.
So you had 7 years.
Yeah, 1956 we moved out to Billingham.
Now, let's look, because I've always heard of Haverton Hill, but I've never known exactly where it was until you found maps that have got it on, and we've got one here. And I never appreciated that Haverton Hill came so far west, up to the junction of Greenwood Road and Bellasys Avenue at that point.
Yeah.
Extraordinary. And that's where Cleveland
Avenue
is. Yeah. And I think you've got a photo of it. Is that you've got a photo of it?
That is correct, yes.
And can we just have a look at it?
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. And you pointed out when we looked at it before, no cars at all. Absolutely.
Not a car there, yeah.
Do you remember any cars?
Not a television aerial on the roof, no. No, I don't. I can't remember any cars in the street.
And at that time, you were in this row of houses towards the far end.
Yes, number 22.
22 was at that. So how, when you arrived in Haverton Hill, how do you remember it? What's the biggest thing that strikes you about it? For me, it's no longer there. It's gone.
Well, it's gone. Yeah, I think it was pulled down in the late 1960s on a government order because of the atmospheric pollution. Yeah.
Do you remember that? I mean, is the atmospheric pollution something that at age
I do
7
remember,
months to 7 years?
Yeah, it was like a fog on Bellasys Avenue, and your eyes used to sting. I don't know whether it was ammonia coming out of the plant, or sulphur or something, you know. But when you're like 6, 7 years old, you don't really realise what's going on around you, you know.
And that's because when we were looking at it, there's Bellasys Avenue, there's Cleveland Avenue, Bellasys Avenue, and you're into the power station and the anhydride.
That's right.
Just immediately the other side of the railway. So you were sort of northeast of there. So if the prevailing wind was from the southwest, that's where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
You're out. That bit is out on a limb a bit.
Yeah.
Did you, as a lad, would you get all round through Haverton Hill? Did you know it all?
Not really. My dad was born in North Street,
which we saw down here. It was just on the junction with the traffic lights, isn't it, by the bridge?
In 1931, my grandmother moved from there over to Cornwall Crescent in Billingham.
And
Coopin Estate.
That's on that, Cornwall Crescent's on that identity card, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So Cornwall Crescent is up here.
Yeah, it runs around there.
Yes, that's right, because there's a Devon or
Yeah.
something there too. And then you came back there, and so that was council housing at that time.
It was, I think it was called Gardeners. It was supposed to be quite a posh place. You had inside toilets and things like that. Because these houses down here, my cousin had a house in Rodney Street, and they still had gas lamps.
And that's at the other end.
Yeah. There was Hawke, Rodney and Drake Street there.
Well, it's all very nautical, isn't it? Because there's Howard and Nelson and Hood. So they were all, I suppose, being shipbuilding and wartime shipbuilding. That was the flavour they wanted. And was this where the Crescent was what they call Hill 60? Is that
Hill
right?
60, yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed, I'm an outsider in Billingham, but Haverton Hill, people who've had some living experience in Haverton Hill like you sort of stand out. You're like a family of your own. Everybody who had that experience, is that the way it was? That it's kind of shared experience that people had there.
Yeah, I remember little bits. I remember 1953. My father took me down to what they call the Bendy down here. And it was when there was floods in the northeast all the way down the east coast.
Oh, just after the war, wasn't it? There
1953.
Yeah.
And the river, the water came right the way up towards Haverton Hill. And I remember my dad taking me down. I was about 5-year-old, I think. And you could see the water up to about here, yeah, all the way up there.
Oh,
that was 53. But that went all down the coast, East Anglia, Canvey Island, I think, and across to Holland. And
yes, terrible. There were terrible floods.
Yeah.
I remember. And was the shipbuilding going on still at Furness then?
I should imagine so, yeah.
Did
then later in 1956, my dad brought me down here to the hostel. There was a bit of trouble at the... it was 1956 and the Hungarian uprising had started.
Oh, right, yeah.
And all the Hungarians, a lot had come over to Teesside, to Haverton Hill. And what I remember is they were on the roof throwing slates down at the police. There's big crowds there and that, you know. But that was 1956.
Why did they come to Haverton Hill? What was...
I don't know.
Isn't that strange that the Hungarians... Must be the H aspect of that,
yeah.
Because they were fine houses. I mean, we can see here, really.
These were the most modern houses in Haverton Hill.
So that was the latest bit that was built.
They were the newest ones, yeah.
So how long had they been there?
Gosh, I think... I'm not sure exactly. It could have been 1922, I'm not sure.
Oh, right. So it was at the end of that period, just after the First War, when they were building them all.
Yeah.
And what did your parents think about moving to Haverton Hill? Because we now think it must have been intolerable having to live in those conditions.
Well,
but it may have been different at the time.
I think what it was, they didn't have their own house. They'd lodged in a house for some people.
Yeah.
And of course, when those people died, then they had to get out.
And that was what we were seeing on.
And the council gave them this house in Cleveland Avenue at the time. Yeah.
And so that was a good move for them. Because they got their own property for the first
house,
time.
3-bedroom house, indoor bathroom, toilets and things, yeah.
Inside?
Inside, yeah.
Yeah, poo, that was...
The only trouble is, nothing would grow in the gardens, just bindweed because of the atmospheric conditions. You couldn't get flowers or anything growing.
And it was difficult being a housewife, wasn't it? Because you couldn't keep things clean, and your curtains all you got grubby.
Put your net curtains on the line, they just fell to bits, yeah.
But when you left, when you were 7, was that part of a formal move of houses, of families out of Haverton Hill?
Yeah,
part of a larger move?
Yeah, we moved to Rosebery Estate in Billingham, and there's quite a few people in our street that had come from Haverton Hill as well. That was Delaval Road we moved to.
Yes.
Which was sort of past St Columba's Church, but from our house you come out of Delaval Road and you can see right across to Newton, Bewley and Wolves and just fields all the way across, no schools, no low Grange there, nothing.
And so a lot of Haverton Hill people had moved into that.
A lot of them, into our street.
And were they then knocking the houses down immediately? The houses were shuttered?
No, I think it was late 60s when it was actually fully demolished.
Right.
About late 60s.
So now, I know because you're so interested in history longer ago, you backed onto, here on the map it shows, Bellasis Hall.
That's right, yeah.
Were you aware of that at the time, or is it only subsequently that you've...
Just knew there was a hall there. That's
Yeah.
what we didn't know anything
Was
about
it a farm? Was it a functioning farm?
There was a farm here as well. There was a farm, you can't see, but Smiths were the people that ran the farm here. And then there was also there was the hall, which was, yeah.
Because did you say it had a moat?
Yeah, they say you can still see part of the moat if you go over there now, yeah. Still, part of it's still there.
And when we were talking, in terms of locating ourselves, it sounds as though between the estate of which Cleveland Avenue was part,
Yeah.
and that's where the current pipe corridor goes. Is that
That's
right?
right,
Just
yeah,
between the
that's
two,
right.
and then turns round.
It comes up here and
To
it
the
makes
east,
a
doesn't it?
right turn to the east.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
so just at the top of Hill 60 is where what I think of as the protein plant, but is now corn.
That's right, the top of Nelson Avenue,
would
which
be
is,
there.
yeah.
When we were talking, you pointed out the churches, because it was well supplied with churches. Can you just take us through the ones that were?
Yes, there was
there.
St Columba's, and there's one that my mother used to send. There was a Sunday school I used to go to there, but I can't remember the name of it. But there was there was 3 churches. There's one there. I
Yes.
think. 1, 2, 3.
On that main, on
Yeah.
Nelson
Yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah,
And then St John's, which was the Church of England church,
yeah,
is down on Haverton Hill Road, and
That's
its
right.
graveyard is still there.
that's right. Yeah,
And you family in there.
yeah. My great grandparents are in there. Came from Ireland in about 1867, so they're buried in there.
And then when we were looking, there's 1, 2 schools, am I right? A nursery school.
Windsor Street. There was a school at Windsor Street,
Right.
which is.
Is it there? There's Windsor Street.
That's it there, yeah.
That's it. Looks
So
a biggish school.
My dad went to that school, yeah.
Now this time.
He was born 1921 in North Street. So
Oh, you said the North Street
Yeah.
there, and then he went to
then he
that.
went to in Windsor Street. He went to school there, yeah.
So when did he moved away from that?
When?
Yes.
1931. They moved to Cornwall Crescent.
That's when they went to Cornwall
Yeah.
Crescent.
1931. That's when they built the estate.
Was any of your family working in the shipyards? Was your
No.
grandfather in the shipyards at that time?
No, they worked in the steel industry. They worked for Bell's Iron Works. in
Oh, right,
Port
which is
Clarence.
further down.
Further
through
down, yeah.
Port
They worked.
Clarence.
Yeah, they worked there, yeah.
So we did the churches and then the schools, but there were lots of shops. Take us through the shops you can
There was
remember.
shops. Well, I remember this place was called the Circle at the top, and there was quite a few shops there. But where we lived, opposite Cleveland Avenue, there was one shop called Featherstones, and that was the general dealers. And I think there was a printers next door to it. But the main shops were further down, what they call the Circle, around here somewhere.
Is that because there was a roundabout there? Is that right?
Yeah, that could have
That's
been
right.
it, right on the road. That's a Circle, and there was a small police station just down there as well.
And the hostel. And there were.
Yeah.
What was the hostel exactly?
People who didn't have a permanent home or something at the
Right.
time. Then I think it was used when the Hungarians came over. I think they got the use of it as well.
It's interesting that they should have come there. And why were they so upset?
I don't know. The local people were asking. They're all young lads, and they say, "Well, where's the women? Where's your children?" And that. And it was just the men had escaped from Hungary to get away
right.
from the Russians.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bit of animosity at the time. But these people all assimilated in the end. They all married and had families in Billingham and that. Yeah.
So we could meet them and talk to them, and they would have been descended from those chaps.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is astonishing. There.
Yeah, it was. There was a couple of clubs. There was the Empire Club and Haverton Hill Workmen's Club, and they were quite popular. There was the 3 pubs: the top house, the middle house, and the bottom house. Just yeah. I mean, Billingham had its own community, I think, with its own pubs and banks at the top, you know. But Haverton Hill was the larger of the 2 at the time. But
Right.
it was all through the industry that built.
The larger of the 2 when you were there.
That's right. Yeah. Before all Low Grange and everywhere else was built. Yeah.
So it's starting to get bigger. This bit is starting
yeah,
to get bigger.
Yeah. Well, ICI built all the houses, most of the houses
Yeah.
running up that way.
And how did you find the change when you moved up to Billingham proper?
Yeah, it was different. It was cleaner. The air was cleaner and everything else. And the houses were brand new. They'd just been built.
Yeah.
and
By
we're right on
that
the...
time, that far, that they were then council housing. That would have been, it wasn't ICI housing.
No,
at
it
that
was
time.
council housing at that
Council
point,
housing,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I would say it was called Rosebery Estate, and there was a Rosebery school, junior
Yeah.
school, which
Yeah.
I went to there, yeah.
Which is on Marsh House,
That's right, yeah.
Marsh House Avenue.
Yeah.
And now you live in Malvern.
Malvern Road, yeah.
Malvern Road.
Ex-ICI staff houses, I believe.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Because they've got bay windows, haven't they? in there?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh. Have you been anywhere else in the time? Have you between being on Marsh House and coming to Malvern?
Yes, I've been at a lot of different places. I've lived in Middlesbrough, Stockton, Ferry Hill, County Durham, Durham City.
My goodness me.
Durham
you've
City
travelled,
for
yeah.
15 years, and then back to Billingham again, yeah.